Prepare yourself
for a talk radio experience like no other.
Strap yourselves in and hold on.
He stands for truth. He stands for justice. He stands for what's right. This is the Alex Jones Show. Call Alex now, toll free, at 877-590-5525. Now live from Austin, Texas, here's Alex Jones.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we close out the last few days of September on this live Sunday edition, going on across the country on the AM and FM dial, satellite, the internet at Infowars.com, and, of course, global shortwave. It is Sunday, and we're very glad that you decided to spend some time with us. There are so many facets and angles and levels of deception to what is popularly known as the bailout, the financial bailout. Number one, it is not a bailout. It is a new branch of government being created, a new private branch. The Treasury becomes private, a private mega hedge fund / central bank, and it gives complete and total criminal pardons to anyone who has committed any type of crime in the financial system if the Secretary of the Treasury says that that is the case. I mean, I'm hearing people all over talk radio finally waking up that George Bush isn't a good conservative and that George Bush is a puppet and runs absolutely nothing. They're also waking up to that. The left is waking up as well, but only to one layer of the proverbial onion, only to a small fraction of it. Bloomberg Financial, of all places, has been reporting that the bailout is more like $5 trillion. Also, Bloomberg is reporting today that the banks are faking a liquidity crisis. Well, of course they are. They're the authors of this massive fraud, and the whole point of the Ponzi scheme is to fleece the schmucks as much as you can. So we'll get into that. Also, it's a red herring, a big red herring. There has been close to $1 trillion pumped in to banks, that is U.S. taxpayer money, in the last year and a half since this crisis supposedly started, a contrived stage crisis. We told you several years before that they would stage the crisis. We even mentioned it would be in subprime mortgages because we actually happen to track the global elite and what they're up to. But just in the last week, Reuters reports an average of $188 billion per day. This came out Friday night from Reuters. Steve Watson did a great report up on prisonplanet.com and Infowars.net on it. Bank borrowing from Fed already exceeded bailout total in 1 week. $188 billion per day. Meanwhile, they have you debating a $700 million bailout to make you think you're part of the process, to confuse the simple-minded public that kind of halfway pays attention to things. Oh, do you want a $700 million bailout? But that's a lie itself. This is a complete and total blank check to commit crimes in the future and a pardon for all of the crimes that have been committed in the past by the very private banks. You know, the international bankers we talk so much about. The public was trained didn't exist and was trained to giggle and smirk at in the New World Order as presidents and prime ministers called for it. You were taught it didn't exist so that you wouldn't have to use your feeble little minds to think about it in the words of the New World Order, not in my words. They call you cattle. They call you slaves. They write books about how stupid you are, laughing at you. Bank borrowing from Fed already exceeded bailout total in last week. So you're debating that. U.S. banks borrowed $188 billion per day on average in the last week from the Federal Reserve, meaning that the Fed loaned out more than the Treasury's proposed bailout in just 1 week, still barely managing to keep the economy afloat. That is long enough to fully suck all the blood out. Federal Reserve data showed Thursday the total amount banks borrowed nearly quadrupled from the previous $47.97 billion per day, notched just the week before, Reuters reports. $188 billion per day on average over the course of 5 days means the total amount borrowed from the Fed in the week ending the 24th of September stood at $940 billion in 1 week. And they count it Sunday night through Thursday evening is how the banking numbers work. A figure that easily eclipsed the proposed $700 billion bailout. That is a smokescreen. Last Sunday, 7 days ago, they met in secret. The private Federal Reserve heads, their puppet, the head of Goldman Sachs, stealing hundreds of billions a day for his company openly, total conflict of interest. They met, and then Monday we got the plan, and it said clearly no one can investigate this. No one can even look at this. No one can talk about this. Any crimes, any felonies, you are given total immunity in perpetuity. It says it. Go read it. It's all over the news. It said they can seize your houses, seize any infrastructure they want. They can take over any banks they want. Oh, that's another wrinkle to the scam. It allows this central coterie, this select group of criminal bankers, to use federal regulators to go grab Washington Mutual, the biggest bank to fail in U.S. history, biggest in world history, by the way, not just U.S. history. They go and grab that. They grab whatever they want. They pay whatever they want for the assets. They steal your assets. They do it. It's just mass criminality. So there's that going on, too. And never forget that in the last week they stole $900+ billion. $900+ billion. And they've got you talking about $700 billion, which, if you really read it, it's at least $5 trillion conservatively. At least $5 trillion conservatively. So, see, you got the public going, that's it, I'm not bailing them out for $700 billion. I'm putting my foot down right now. I hear it all over talk radio. I'm going to start this and that. I'm going to start blasting. I hear it on I heard Rush Limbaugh, people talking about shooting. I heard people talking about it on Sean Hannity. I heard it everywhere. And suddenly it's being accepted. No, we don't need behavior like that. And sit down and realize really what's going on. While you're busy looking at the puppet they held up in front of you or the red cape they held up in front of you like you're some mindless bovine bull, some beast, $900+ billion was stolen. Now, that's Reuters reporting that. That's what's been taken out. Now, on top of this, there's just so many facets. It's just amazing. While everybody's been busy watching this happen, and they've now tentatively agreed on the bloodletting, which is, again, $5 trillion, not $700 billion, close to a trillion stolen just last week, that you will pay for with interest. The Democrats just dropped a tiny little bit of socialism for the people, which I would normally be against, but compared to the stuff for the bankers, it's nothing. That just maybe a judge might give you a chance to renegotiate, or you might get a little bit of aid somehow, at least a pat on the head as you were thrown off the cliff. No, you get absolutely nothing. That's Associated Press. Dems drop mortgage help for homeowners from banker bailout. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, they passed the biggest U.S. defense budget, over $1 trillion with almost no fanfare. Just 7 years ago, the defense budget was $430-something billion. Now it's over $1 trillion, not to mention another $500 billion off military budget. $1.5 trillion. The military budget is now half the U.S. GDP a year. And it only expands, it only intensifies, it's only growing that much faster. So we'll come back and run over all the facts and how if you don't like it, they're going to use the military and police on you. That's what the police state was geared up for, as I told you years ago. So you can't stop them from taking your pension fund. We'll be right back.